In this section, we are going to work on the topic of the partner you want as an extension of yourself. That is the one that represents what you are in front of others. If you look, when you think about the type of partner you want for yourself, you will always find this factor because you want someone who, in practice, confirms who you are. This motive in the drive of desire for a partner is usually called the mirror motive. Because when you project someone you want to be with, you will always find yourself with an unconscious desire to reflect your own personality in him or her. A quite famous saying, which reflects what I am explaining here, is the wife of Caesar must not only be one, but look like one. If you notice, with this expression, we are talking about someone who wants her partner to be equal to him, because it is a reflection of his actions. What is the problem with this type of desire for a partner? First, you stop looking for the real person you like and start looking for someone who looks like you or confirms who you are. Deep down, you start searching for a version of yourself as a way to make sure no one embarrasses you in public. As you can see, for Caesar, all the people who interacted with him were an extension of his own decisions. And that conflict is usually transferred as a psychic contagion. It is no coincidence that the majority of the emperors of the Julia Claudia house developed that disorder under which an action by their subordinates, good or bad, had an impact on them. If I tell you all this, it is because I want you to notice the origin of this drive that leads you to desire that type of partner. It comes precisely from the fact that for your own parents, you were an extension of them. If you did something good, it was because they had taught you. But if you did something wrong, it was your fault. But still, you shouldn't do it, because that would affect the opinion that others would have, not only of you, but especially of your parents. Then you reach a second childhood, where you begin to develop your first childhood crushes, and this drive is activated where you look for someone who looks like you and who performs the same actions that you perform. Ideally, that he or she thinks like you do. And this is reflected with greater evidence in youth, where when projecting the type of girlfriend or boyfriend you want for yourself, there is always the factor of someone who will not make you look bad in public. The problem is that when we are young, we always make mistakes, all of us. We are searching for our own personality, and we put aside relationships that could have been meaningful to us because we fear that that person, by not behaving as we would like them to, is no longer valuable because it activates our own insecurities. If I tell you about all this, it is because, as you can see, there you will also find the explanation of why the people you liked when you were young didn't like you, because you didn't show yourself as a potential extension of those people. There you will also find the explanation of why there are others, particularly narcissists, who are so successful at that stage of people's life. I am referring to youth, when finding a partner, because it costs them very little to reflect the personality of the person with whom they want to have a romantic relationship. Why does the prettiest girl in school always fall in love with the most idiotic guy? Well, because without knowing it, she is looking for someone who is an extension of herself. But the thing is, we all operate this same way. When we are children or young people, when projecting our dream partner, we look for someone in whom we transfer our individuality. And with that, you lose your own freedom. If the other person does something that does not resemble who you are, you rule them out as a potential partner. And the second problem that comes with this drive that leads you to project the type of partner you want because it is an extension of who you are is that once you have a partner, you begin to try to transform them into yourself. Many of the conflicts that I have to work on my practice have to do with this topic. There are people who first adapt their personality to have a relationship, but then begin to try to make their partner become more and more like them, and above all, do what they would do under certain circumstances. They become a kind of Caesar who wants his partner to always be doing what they would like to do. So, given this frame of reference, what I want you to do is define what type of partners you have desired throughout your childhood and youth, motivated by this drive. When you have wanted a partner of yours to be an extension of who you are. For example, if I am conservative, I want a partner who is just as conservative as me. Or on the contrary, if I am liberal, I want a partner who is just as liberal as me. And this is going to be expressed in the way you dress. You are going to want your partner to dress the way you dress. Or you are even going to want that he or she to behave the way you do. But as you can infer, each person is different. The idea of this exercise is precisely to help you notice that all people in the world are different from others. And when you look for the other person to be an extension of who you are limiting your chances of finding the real person you like, which, as I've told you, is what most of us do, because it is a psychic drive that has been inserted into us since our earliest childhood. So the idea here is always to help you awaken your consciousness so that you notice what generates in your mind, the type of partner you supposedly want to be with. Ultimately, it is nothing more than an illusion. In order for you to find your true dream partner, you necessarily have to dissociate yourself from these notions that have been imposed on you.